and thank you for joining Rugged Mountain Homestead. My name is Sarah, and you probably can't tell, but we are not at Rugged Mountain Homestead this evening. And I apologize for the low light. I'm trying to kind of move around to get the best light I can. We are actually on federal land this weekend. We are going on our first ever hunting, camping adventure. We've been camping a lot, obviously, but this is our first hunting adventure, and so we're really looking forward to it. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to try and keep warm. Also, since we are on federal land and we're not at a campground, we're truly boondocking it. That's going to be interesting as well, because every time we've been camping, I've had electricity or something. We do have propane. We have a lot of things that will run off propane. We do have some electric for the battery, but it's not the same. But I'm still excited, looking forward to it, and just got camp set up. Dean is up with the others, and I think that they're just getting the last minute things done before we start. Everybody bringing their food out. And you can probably hear generators in the background. Our friends have a little bit of a fancier rig than we do, but that's okay. It's all about the adventure. And I just have to show you this beautiful sunset. Sun is definitely going down, and it is definitely getting cold out here. And for the moment while I'm filming, I've got Wyatt tied up just so I could get things going here. I'm gonna let him loose here in a second. But this is kind of why I was wanting to scout around before letting him loose. Look at this bad boy. That will hurt if you step on it. I don't want that to happen for sure. Well, that's probably going to be it this evening. Not much excitement, I know, just setting up camp and getting ready to have some dinner, but see you bright and early in the morning. See what happens tomorrow.
I close the door.
Here we go.
Yeah, yours is cooler looking than mine.
Look at that.
Wow. I'm a lot more comfortable than I expected to be.
Yeah. You know why, Will?
Why?
Because I'm not driving.
You can if you want.
No.
That's 7,760 feet. Hoping to see an elk. That is so cool. It looks pretty snug, doesn't it?
I don't know if I'm looking at it.
Well, they're probably staying here all week. Well, Dean, our first hunting expedition is down. We spent the weekend out in the middle of nowhere on public land.
And I smell great.
And we both smell great. So we learned a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, tell you. Side-by-side four-wheelers can go through anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Number one. Number two. At 6 in the morning, out in the mountains, it is cold as hell. Number three. You can ride and ride and ride and not see anything for a while. But this morning, one of my friend's sons got a 5.4, 5 point on one side, 4 point on the other side, gigantic buck. The other thing I learned is I'm not in great shape. He took it at 511 yards, and we had to hike basically up the mountain to get it because it was about to crest and go over this one ridge, and we couldn't drive to it. So we basically stayed on the trail, hiked it in, maybe a couple miles, and he dressed it and quartered it, and we took it out of there and came back. That was a lot of work.
How long does it take to do that?
He was at it over an hour.
Yeah.
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
But at least it was cold and windy,
Oh.
you know. But no, it was good. It's a good learning experience. And
So do you think you'll be getting a ticket next year?
if I do, I'll certainly prepare better.
Yeah.
Not that we were unprepared, but thankfully we were with these folks.
Well, the thing was, and that was as what I was getting ready to say next, is that, hang on a second, we are going through some rough area. We both are. It wouldn't be real if we waited till we got home and got cleaned up to shoot this. So we're hideous right now.
Oh, it's real.
Okay. Oh, it's very real. But the thing that I learned as being the one that sets camp up and everything like that, I thought I was prepared. I've tried, Dean thought I was overdoing it at first. I tried to think of everything. So I had brought my crock pot, and I had brought, the electric blanket and a couple other blankets, and
Bottom line is, our trailer doesn't have an
Stop it.
inverter.
right.
Therefore, we couldn't use anything that was 120 volt.
We knew that there were going to be no hookups, obviously not on public land.
I
You
thought
stop.
that the battery ran through an inverter,
Right.
and that as long as we were frugal,
We could run the crock pot, the coffee pot, and the electric blanket sparingly off the battery. We were just going to do it until we had a pot made, or anyway, until the bed was warm. That's not the case, so we need to get an inverter. But thankfully I'd packed extra blankets. Thankfully our friends were very kind and generous, and
they had a lot of food. They
ate
hooked
a
us
lot
up
of
with
food,
their
right.
generator.
Right, they hooked us up to their generator so that our fan didn't go out on the propane heater during the night. So we did have propane, of course. So I was able to cook on propane. We were able to heat on propane.
It was comfortable.
Yeah, and so that was interesting, but we had our needs met. We had water because we had filled up the water tank before we left. So, we had those needs met. We were warm, we were fed,
Good company.
great friends, had a great time, and really, it was a really neat way to get to know each other. But it would not have been a rugged mountain homestead expedition without us having a funny haha now story. Yeah. What happened
Turn left to County Road 334.
was that I woke up in the wee hours of the morning. I know that every funny story we have always begins that way. But anyway, it wasn't funny. I had a migraine, a bad one. So I decided I wasn't going to go out on the hunt this morning. I was going to try and sleep it off. And Dean, laughed and did everything that needed to be done. And so anyway, shortly after he left, the dog was acting like he needed to go out. So I opened up the door.
Turn left to County Road 334.
And I looked out, and there were no other dogs out. So I thought, you know what? Dean did this earlier. I'll let him out. Let him run a little bit. I grabbed my coat, and I thought, I'll just put food in his bowl and let him run a little while. Well, I had to unlock the door to get out there. And thankfully, I was like, I'll go ahead and grab the coat because it is cold out there. I'll just grab it, since I'll just be standing out there a few minutes.
It was 19 degrees.
It was 19 degrees. So, shut the trailer door, watch Wyatt for a little bit, call him to me, put my hand on the door, and no joke, I locked myself out. How? I still don't get it because you have to turn the latch to get out.
Something's wrong with it.
So, well, I think that you have to turn it all the way. I think I only turned it halfway. And, to my benefit, I wasn't feeling well. And so, I locked myself out. Immediately, I put my hand in my pocket.
To call me.
To call Dean up on the mountain, several miles away, to let him know, hey, I need help.
And for the first time ever,
my phone was not in my pocket. So, I admit I almost started to cry. And I thought, nope, this is not what I need to do. So, I stood there for a minute thinking, what am I going to do? Because I'm in my long underwear. I did not think that I was going to be standing outside. So I'm in my long thermal underwear with a coat on in 19 degrees. So Wyatt looks at me and he's just kind of running around for a minute, and I thought, okay, you run around. And then I called him to me because I thought he was getting a little far, and he looked at me like, yeah, Mom, I see you. And he turned around and he took off down the road. It's a dirt road, but but nonetheless, he ran off pretty good distance. So there I am, going down the road in my underwear, and finally, on the way back, a man stops.
Oh, you saw a woman on the side of the road in her underwear.
Yeah. And so he said, are you okay? I'm like, no. I said, can you text? Do you have a phone? He said, yeah. I said, can you text my husband for me? And so I told him, please text my husband. Wife locked out, migraine, dog loose. Because I thought, if anything gets him off the mountain, that'll be it. So, well, Dean was up there taking pictures because our friend's son got a beautiful buck for his family. And his phone died. So I was really starting to get cold. And
well, then I tried to call you.
Oh, yeah.
And I borrowed my friend's phone.
Yeah.
And it rang and rang and rang. And I said,
Right.
well, she must be sleeping. Turn the ringer off because she wasn't feeling good. So
Right.
I didn't worry about it.
So they had this huge setup for, a bonfire at night and everything. And I thought, I'm not lighting that thing up. I was afraid I'd really cause a mess. So on one of the grills, kind of like it's a big one, an iron grill, I started a little fire standing over it in my coat and underwear, and I was there hours. And the guy that had texted Dean, he asked me if I wanted a piece of rope, and I said yes. So I used it for a leash for Wyatt, got him back, got up there just on the chance that another woman was back there. I banged on every trailer door, but nobody was there. And friend's son finally pulls up, a second son, and I was just so grateful. and he started the generator and got me in his mom and dad's trailer to wait for these guys. Called his dad. They were only like a half an hour out. So that was the last morning of camp for me.
5 miles, turn right.
The moral of the story is, have a hide key.
Yeah. Put your pants on before you go outside.
And if you think you're going to die in the cold, don't be afraid to try opening doors of the other folks who are around you for survival.
That's true. Well,
Or if it was life and death, break in to get warm. It's better than dying.
well, I figured building a fire would come first, and I figured I could make myself, you know,
1.2
survive
miles,
until
turn
somebody.
right to
My
San
fear
Juan
is because yesterday when we all went out and I was with them, we didn't get anything that day, but we went out after breakfast and didn't come back until dark. And when the sun goes down out here, it drops 40 degrees,
Turn right
easy.
to 151.
My fear is that I couldn't get a hold of Dean. They weren't going to come back till after dark,
Proceed 5 miles
and
on CO
I was afraid
151.
that maybe thought if I don't, you know, I'm not able to keep a good fire going, I was afraid I was going to get hypothermia. All of that to be said, that, you know, we're excited to go on the next one, but we are going to be more prepared. We're going to up our game. We're going to make sure we have an inverter so that we can use, you know, our outlets off our battery frugally. I think I'm going to have more dried snacks for us. I think, you know, contributing to the meals we had enough. They were kind and provided all the meat, and it was wonderful. So, learned a lot, both of us in different ways. And what's really exciting is also to know that, you know, this man that got this buck today, really going to put out, would you say probably 150 pounds of meat for his family?
I think we packed out that much. Probably less once it's been processed, but still.
Yeah. So that's the encouraging part. It's like, you know, because we have seen, and I've talked about it before, shortages. They do happen. It wasn't, we don't know, but it probably was not a one-time event. And just like we saw drought this past summer, and we can't be dependent on saying, okay, I will just buy a large amount. That does, you know, that's not always going to work. It's very smart to fill our freezers. I buy, you know,
It'll work in the short term.
right. I buy beef. I buy, you know, pork sourced from farmers. I did back in Virginia, and yeah. But you need to know how to hunt, because if it ever came down to it, in a situation, you need to be able to put food on the table, and this is one way to do it. Is hunting. So that is how our weekend went. It was exciting. It was.
Sarah surprised me all afternoon, and it was cold. We were on this four-wheeler, and the road was, I did not think that this thing could handle it, no matter what speed. I could not believe how tough these things are.
Yeah, it was a rough ride. It was great. Will is an awesome driver, because there were moments that I was like, I was praying, but he knew what he was doing. So it was a good time. It was a really good time. We'll do it again, and like I said, we'll up our game and be able to stay out longer next time. All right, let's see what we can get into next. Until the next time.
Stick with me. It'll be good. It'll be fun. It'll be different.
Always.
It's always a wild ride.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
See ya.